The computer is an extraordinary invention. It is changing everything we do, how we work, how we play, how we live.
You go to the hospital, you're dealing with computers. You get in your car, you're dealing with computers. You pick up your phone, you're dealing with computers.
The computer is the single most important invention, at least in the second half of the 20th century, and is completely revolutionizing not just the way we live, but in fact who we are.
This is such a remarkable event that it would be tragic if we didn't record and save the information necessary for future generations to understand how it happened.
So we're here to preserve those artifacts and stories and to present them to people, to educate people, and to provide a research base for people to explore and learn from the things of the past.
And we think we're the only large-scale collecting museum in the world that's focused on the information revolution and computing technology and how that evolved. We're a unique institution.
It is, in fact, a place that carries technology and software and books and manuals and other paraphernalia to tell the story. To just have a large warehouse with things plopped down there is no good for anyone. But to have them and have the stories, how we got there, of how we came of age, are very important.
The Computer History Museum began in 1979 when Gordon and Gwen Bell opened a display of their private collection at Digital Equipment Corporation in Boston, Massachusetts. Eventually, it became a public museum with a growing collection of artifacts, educational exhibits, and a lecture program. A West Coast branch of the Boston Museum opened in 1996, dedicated to preserving the history and artifacts of the computing revolution. Eventually, the Boston site closed and the California location became the Computer History Museum. In 2002, the museum purchased its permanent home in Mountain View, where it has begun the first phase of an ambitious, long-term effort.
The mission of the museum is to preserve and to present for posterity the artifacts and the stories of the information age. The preservation part means we have to collect all of the objects and the stories so that future generations can have the raw material to understand what happened. And the present part means that we have to transmit that information to visitors, both into the real building and on the web, in a way that they can understand and be educated and benefit from.
They're trying to show a variety of exhibit experiences for different visitors. All the exhibits have a general overview and overstatement that everybody can understand, but then through layers of information, you can delve down deeper and deeper.
In its first phase of development, the museum currently features 3 exhibits.
We have a wonderful team of docents who give all the public tours in visible storage, and many of them are pioneers and contributors themselves, so they have a deep knowledge of what it is they're talking about.
The history of invention right here in our own backyard is the subject of Innovation 101, an exhibit of important artifacts and stories of some of the creative visionaries and companies of Silicon Valley. And the newest exhibit is Mastering the Game, a history of computer chess.
We were using really chess as a way to teach about basic principles. And the interesting thing about chess, it's a 50-year story, 50-year quest to solve a very difficult problem. And it actually mimics the same general trends in the history of computing.
Mastering the Game represents the museum's first step toward the more interactive exhibits it plans to create in the future.
In the exhibits that we're going to be building, they will be rich with multimedia presentations. There'll be an audio device that you can carry around with you. There'll be interactive video displays. There'll be movies. There'll be photographs. It'll be much easier in that environment to get the story out of the objects. But that's still in the future. This museum is still a work in progress. We have a wonderful building, which is our permanent home. We have a wonderful Hahn Auditorium where we have public events. We have restoration laboratories. We have meeting rooms. We have an oral history studio. What we're doing now, before we're a completed museum, is to continue the work of preserving the artifacts and the stories, because you can't delay that. If you don't do it now, it will be lost for all time.
What we want to create is a kind of seamless experience between the physical museum and what we call the cyber museum. So every time something's added, it's on our website. It's part of our dream of creating a truly open access so people can see what's in our collection at any given time as it grows.
We have a wonderful lecture series which is open to the public, where experts come in and tell stories of how they contributed to this revolution and how things might happen in the future.
I think one of the things we're trying to do is really show the people behind the inventions and tell people's stories. And so we have a very active oral history program so that people can hear the pioneers themselves talking and telling anecdotes that you wouldn't normally find in archival material.
We are recording the events of history contemporaneously with them happening. Rarely in history do you have a chance to do that. Wouldn't you love to be able to hear Michelangelo talk about what it was like to paint the Sistine Chapel?
Every year, the museum honors individual pioneers who have made important contributions to the development of computing with its Fellow Awards.
The idea behind the Fellows Award is to make heroes out of technologists and entrepreneurs. It's a way to inspire the next generation.
I think it's wonderful to create heroes for our youth who are engineers and innovators and inventors. To me, this museum a little bit is a tribute to them and to their work.
Every time I come here, I find new things. And I come here a lot because they have sponsored seminars, wonderful speeches by prominent industry people that have come from all over the world. This is a remarkable place. I mean, I do think having a place in the world that will capture the history of the computing industry is phenomenal. I support the heck out of it. I really think it's an important thing.
We invite you to get involved with the museum by visiting us or by becoming a member, donor, or volunteer. And be sure to visit us online to explore the collection, see the stories, and find out what's happening here where computing history lives.